Welcome to the Chronicles of a Cheating Wife channel. A new story every day. Don't forget to subscribe. You're a man, hang in there. That's what I keep telling myself as I stand here, looking at you, Sarah McAllister, my wife, while you refuse to speak. You're just a couple of steps away, leaning against the kitchen counter, eyes cast down. Maybe you think if you remain silent long enough, I'll lose my nerve and leave. But you know me better than that. I've been holding everything inside for so many years, growing darker with each memory of how this all began. And now, here we are, the same broken pieces that never fit back together. I wonder if you can sense my heart pounding, or if that's just the echo of my own guilt bouncing around inside my skull. I'm not supposed to blame myself, right? Everyone always says if there's an affair, it's because something was missing in the marriage. But I gave you everything I had, my time, my trust, my name. Then I saw the bruises on your wrist one evening, right where some stranger's fingers had dug into your flesh. And a few days later, there was a hush in your voice whenever the phone rang. A quick movement to close the laptop the moment I walked into the room. You remember those nights, don't you, Sarah McAllister? And you remember what happened when I tried to ask if everything was okay. You gave me a brittle smile, said everything was fine, and then retreated somewhere behind those shutters in your eyes. It was like you'd already left our home, even though you sat right beside me on the sofa. I tried to push away the suspicion. I told myself I was imagining things, that maybe you were under stress. But there was that wedding ring I bought you, your name next to mine on the inside band. And a foreign name I didn't recognize. You must have scratched it there with a needle or a tiny blade, right next to my inscription. I still don't understand how you thought I'd never notice. I rotated the ring on your finger once while you slept, thinking I might catch a glimpse of your dream on your face. Instead, I found the evidence carved into the metal. That's when the real weight of betrayal buried itself in my chest. Look at me, Sarah McAllister. I know you won't, but I'm still asking. Because if you can see how much it hurt, maybe you'd realize the damage that was done. Or maybe you already know, and that's why you're silent. Because my anger is so thick in this room you could slice it with a knife. You told me once, well, not in words, but with your attitude, that I should do whatever I want. Remember, I came home after a shift at the warehouse, sweaty and exhausted, hoping you'd have the decency to look me in the eye. Instead, I found the bedroom door slightly open. I heard the muffled voices, and then I heard that sound. Your breath catching in your throat, that rustling of sheets, the low murmur of a man's voice that wasn't mine. My fists clenched so tight my nails dug half-moons into my palms. Part of me wanted to rip the door off its hinges. But I stood there, listening like a coward, feeling my soul burn inside my rib cage. You moaned his name. Andrew. Andrew Green. At first, I didn't recognize it. It sounded foreign, like you were speaking in a language I'd never heard. And then, piece by piece, it clicked. The ring. The hushed phone calls. The abrupt disconnection when I asked you what was on your mind. All of it pointed to him. My body shook, but I forced myself to stay quiet. Because I wanted to see his face. I needed that image seared into my brain. And once I had it, I could barely breathe. He was exactly the kind of guy I always feared you'd find more interesting. Taller than me, broad shoulders, better job, that cocksure grin plastered across his mouth. Even while he was with you in our bed, he looked like a man who owned the world. I don't know how long I stood there, but it felt like an eternity. Watching him touch you the way I used to. Watching you respond to him in ways I had only dreamed you'd still do for me. There was heat in the room, tangible, oppressive. The scent of sweat and perfume swirling in the air. My heart pounded so loudly I thought you'd both hear it. But your focus was entirely on each other. And when he reached up to twist your hair around his fist, you arched back with such abandon that my vision blurred. It was the moment I realized. I still loved you, but you were giving yourself to someone else without hesitation. I could have stormed in. I could have struck him or shouted at you, But something inside me froze. I listened instead. I listened to your whisper. My name. You whispered my name in the middle of it. A slip of the tongue, or maybe a vestige of guilt. I'll never know. But it destroyed something deep inside me. I turned on my heel and walked out of the house. You see, Sarah McAllister, I'm not the type who lashes out blindly. I calculate. I observe. I wait. That day was when the plan started forming in my mind. You never told me directly that you wanted me gone, but your body language and your silence afterwards said it all. So that's what I did. I vanished. I changed my name, shaved my hair, even got a different job in another state. Left you and our boy behind. Yes, I know. It's unforgivable. But in my twisted way, I thought if he grew up believing I was dead or simply a runaway, that would be less complicated than watching me unravel. Because I wasn't just angry at you. I was angry at myself. I felt guilty for not being enough, for letting you slip away into someone else's arms. So I buried that guilt beneath layers of new identities. I wore flannel shirts and worked menial jobs. I kept my head down, rarely made eye contact with people. Because every time I saw a ring on someone's hand, I remembered the scrapes on your wrist from Andrew Green's grip. I remembered how you rubbed makeup over those marks, like you were trying to hide them even from yourself. And in that act of concealment, you effectively told me, I've chosen him over you. So I left. 18 years. Can you imagine? 18 years of living as someone else, carrying around the memory of you. Then I got the letter. From our son. God, I almost couldn't open the envelope. My hands were shaking so hard. He wrote that you, Sarah McAllister, are scared of your own husband. Yes, that same Andrew who once gave you goosebumps of pleasure is now the source of your fear. The boy said he found me through some private investigator's lead. He wants to know why I never came back, and why you ended up terrified. Part of me was ready to tear that letter into pieces, but I didn't, because I needed to read it again and again, letting the old wound tear open. That's when all the resentment boiled over. I told him the truth, that I orchestrated everything, short of laying a finger on you physically. I planted doubts in Andrew's mind, hired people to casually mention your name in bars he frequented, sent him snapshots of you at random times, with date stamps that implied you were seeing someone else. I carved his name inside your ring, the same ring I'd once etched with my own vow, just to show how your loyalty had shifted. I wanted him to taste the same bitterness I had. And from the shadows, I watched as he grew suspicious, controlling, eventually turning into the man you fear. I never needed to touch you to make you suffer. That was my brand of revenge. A quiet push into chaos, letting your own choices devour you from the inside. But here's the thing, Sarah McAllister. I still loved you. Even now, even in this suffocating silence. That's the messed up truth. I blamed myself for not being who you wanted, and I hated you for betraying me. But love and hate can sit side by side, strangling each other like two weeds growing from the same root. And now our son is begging for guidance, asking if he should run away too, or if he should confront the demon you two created. You want to know my advice? I told him. Stay. Stay in the house. Stay close to her, but keep your distance emotionally. Observe. Learn her weaknesses, every hidden regret, every quiet tear she tries to hide. Then use them like I did. Strike from within so she never sees it coming. Let her watch her life crumble, piece by piece, while you stand there, calm and silent. That's what I said, Sarah McAllister, because that's what I did. And you and Andrew both walked right into my trap. Why did I do it? Because in my twisted logic, I thought if I wasn't good enough to keep you, then I'd be the reason your happiness died. That was my revenge, fueled by a warped sense of guilt. Guilt that maybe if I tried harder, you wouldn't have looked elsewhere. Guilt that maybe I was too boring, too predictable. You wanted a man who could give you excitement. Instead, you got a man who gave you fear. It's sick. I know. But I lived with that for almost 2 decades, letting it fester, until it became the only thing I could believe in. So why am I here now, standing in front of you while you stare at the floor? Because he found me. Our son found me. He insisted we meet again, if only once. And I guess there's a part of me that needed to see your face, to confirm that you still exist beyond the nightmares. I wanted to see if I felt anything real when I stood in the same room as you, besides anger, besides regret. You're not speaking, but your eyes flicker with something that might be sadness, or maybe fear, or maybe you just don't have the words to say, "I'm sorry," or "I loved you once," or "I wish I could have been enough for you." Maybe none of that matters now. We've gone too far down this path. You have a husband who might hurt you. You have a son who's stuck in the middle, carrying our shared wounds. And here I am, the ghost you thought was buried, standing in your kitchen like a living reminder that some betrayals never really die. I can't stand the silence. I need you to say something, anything, but you just keep your arms folded, fingernails digging into your elbows, as if you're trying to hold yourself together. And me, I'm standing here, talking and talking, wanting to shake you out of this trance. I want you to scream at me, throw plates, cry, beg. Anything but this cold, wordless surrender. I imagine that night again, your breathless moans, his low growl in your ear. The rawness of it makes my head spin. But I tighten my fists at my sides, because you see, Sarah McAllister, I'm not here to forgive. I'm here to close the loop. To tell you, face to face, that I've already given our son the instructions he needs to do what I did. Quiet, calculated, lethal in its subtlety. And maybe you're thinking you deserve it, or maybe you're just numb after all these years. But I see your jaw tense, and I wonder if, behind that tight-lipped silence, you're cursing me. Does it matter? In a few hours, I'll walk out the door again. If you call the police, they won't find me. I have a new name, new papers, new life. If Andrew tries to hunt me down, he'll probably fail. I've had a long time to perfect the art of disappearing. But I can't disappear without telling you something important. I still love you. It's the one constant in this labyrinth of betrayal. I'm a fool, right? A pathetic man who never got past the heartbreak. Maybe so. But that's the truth. You must be wondering why I tell our son to destroy you if I love you. Because that love is poisoned by something that will never heal. You made me question my worth as a man. I guess I want you to feel what I felt. Unsure of your every step, terrified that your reality might collapse. If love is an anchor, then betrayal is the storm that rips the ship apart. And I've turned into that storm for you. This is the part where I might normally break down, or show you some tearful confession. But I won't. My emotions are all caged behind this tight, simmering anger. I feel them pressing against my rib cage, pounding for release. But I clamp my jaw and keep them inside. Because men like me, we don't break down. We channel the pain into control. That's what I did, what I do. That's how I survived after I walked away 18 years ago. I see you trembling slightly. Maybe now you realize the part I played in your misery. Or perhaps you've known all along but refused to accept it. This is your chance to speak, Sarah McAllister. Will you beg me to stop? Will you try to defend yourself? No, still nothing. Just that dull acceptance in your eyes. Sometimes I hate you for that almost more than I hate you for cheating. The way you just stand there, letting the world burn around you. I can't hold back the words anymore. They're spilling out before I can even think. Do you remember how you said I could do what I want? You didn't say it out loud, but you practically told me to leave. You shut me out, gave me no choice, and I took that as permission to do something worse. That's what I did. I made sure your precious Andrew turned into your worst nightmare. And now our boy's living under that same roof, watching it all unfold. My voice cracks, but I force it steady again. I told him to do what I did. No direct violence, just quiet sabotage from the inside. You want to know why? because I can't bear the idea of him escaping so easily. He's my son, and he should learn that life is never fair. He needs to see that any love can turn sour. He should taste that bitterness so it doesn't blindside him later. That's what I wrote in my letter. You still won't speak, will you? You're biting your lip now, maybe to keep from crying, or maybe to keep from hurling insults at me. I can't read your eyes anymore. They're hollow, as if you've retreated somewhere inside yourself. Sarah McAllister. I say your full name again, louder this time. It echoes in the empty space. I love you more than anything in this world. I wanted to give you a life free of worry. I worked my hands raw to afford that ring on your finger, and you carved another man's name in it. Is it still there? Let me see. I reach for your hand, and you jerk it away. That's the first real movement you've made, a tremor of defiance. But it's too late to matter. The damage is done. Don't worry, I mutter, stepping back. I don't need to see it. I know it's there. Your silence is maddening. But I guess this is your way of punishing me, making me drown in my own words. Fine. If that's how it goes. I hope you realize, I say, that this is goodbye. After tonight, you won't see me again. Whatever happens next is between you and Andrew, and our son, if he decides to carry out what I taught him. I'm washing my hands of this whole mess. My chest feels tight, like the final exhale is fighting to break free. I turn away from you, press a hand to my forehead. The headache that's been building finally surges. I can hear my own blood rushing through my ears. Memories flash. The day we first met. How you smiled at me under that old oak tree near the campus library. The day we married, your cheeks flushed with excitement as we said our vows. The day our son was born, and I thought my world couldn't get any more perfect. And finally, that terrible day I discovered you with Andrew Green in our bed. It all merges into a single, painful college. Why didn't you just ask me for a divorce? I whisper, even though I know you won't answer. Why did you have to make me discover it like that? My voice trembles with an anger that's almost childlike in its confusion. I could have handled the honesty. But this was worse. When I glance over my shoulder, you're looking at me. Your mouth opens slightly, and for a split second, I think you might speak. But nothing comes out. Just a shallow breath. My heart clenches. I realize that even now, I'm hoping for some flicker of redemption, some sign that you cared enough to give me closure. But I know better. I force my gaze to the clock on the wall. The time is late. Too late for regrets, too late for second chances. My car's outside, waiting to take me back to the life I've built in another state, under another name. I tried to outrun the past once, and it finally caught me in the shape of our son's letter. Now I'm giving the past one final nod before burying it for good. Sarah McAllister, I say, my tone quieter, steadier. I want you to know something. Love doesn't die. It twists, it deforms, but it clings to your bones. That's the real curse. It means part of me will always belong to you. Even after everything, I still want to protect you, hold you, make you laugh. Then at the same time, I want to watch you break. That contradiction tears me apart. But you don't get to see me torn anymore. I won't give you that satisfaction. I walk to the door, each step 1,000 pounds on my legs. You don't move. You just watch me, statue still, tears gathering in the corners of your eyes. Maybe you think if you cry, I'll soften. I did, once, but not now, not anymore. The door handle feels cold under my fingers. I twist it. I look back one last time. Your lips part, but you're silent still. I wonder if I'll ever hear your voice again. Part of me hopes I won't, because it would just open the wound wider. And so I leave. The night air meets me outside, crisp and unforgiving. My mind swirls with a mixture of triumph and emptiness. I've confronted you, told you about my part in your downfall, confessed that my love never died. And you said nothing. Perhaps that's your final victory, your last way of punishing me. A hush that echoes in my mind, forcing me to replay every emotion in isolation. In the car, I sit gripping the steering wheel. My reflection in the rearview mirror is barely recognizable, shadows clinging to the shape of my face. I start the engine, but I don't drive off immediately. I let the rumble settle in my bones. My eyes close for a moment as I picture your silent figure. Then I imagine our son, reading my letter, maybe crumpling it in frustration, or maybe embracing the cold logic I spelled out for him. That twisted logic of sabotage. Was I wrong? I asked the darkness. There's no answer, of course. I'm alone in this. I think of the ring again. The metal band around your finger, bearing my name, bearing his name, your name, and all the scars we inflicted upon each other. It's the perfect symbol of how tangled we've become. I exhale. Maybe this is what being a man is about. Shouldering the guilt, even if it's twisted or misplaced, and never letting anyone see the tears. You're a man, hold it together. I whisper to myself in English this time, a quiet echo of the words that started everything tonight. Then I pull away from the curb, leaving your house behind. I don't look back at the lights in the window. I don't want to see if you're watching me drive off. The road is empty, stretching out like a promise of some bleak freedom. But there's no real freedom from what we've done to each other. Just distance. The drive feels endless as I cross town, heading for the highway that leads to my rented apartment a few states over. I focus on the lines of asphalt illuminated by my headlights. Yet my mind drifts inevitably to our son. If he does follow through with what I told him, it'll destroy him as much as it destroys you. Revenge has a way of staining the heart forever. But I can't pretend I'm some benevolent father either. I told him the truth of how I fought back against you. That honesty might be the only gift I ever gave him. Hours pass in a blur of rest stops and long, straight roads. Morning creeps into the horizon, painting the sky with bruised purples and reds. My eyes burn, but I keep going. There's a hollow place inside me where anger used to live, and it's expanding. The more I think about leaving you there, speechless, the more I sense that maybe I lost something precious in that final confrontation. Some fragile shred of hope I've been nursing all these years. But it's done. And I won't regret it. Or maybe I will, but that regret is my burden alone. I told our son to do exactly what I did, to tear you down from the inside, to make sure you taste the same hopelessness. A part of me wonders if he'll go through with it. Or maybe he'll break the cycle and find a better path. That would be something, his victory over both of us. Still, I can't deny the satisfaction I felt seeing your face. Even if you said nothing, I watched your composure crack, ever so slightly. That was all I needed. Proof that I could still stir something inside you, whether it's fear or remorse. And beneath that twisted satisfaction lies the raw truth. I never stopped loving you. It's the agony of a man who has loved too deeply and lost. When you took Andrew into our bed, you shattered the man I was. All that's left is this shape I've become. Someone who quietly inflicts torment, who would rather see you suffer than see you happy with someone else. The sunrise is behind me now as the highway leads into the next state. I stop for gas at a rundown station. The clerk inside eyes me suspiciously, maybe sensing the storm in my eyes. I pay in cash, always cash. Like the drifter I've been for the past 18 years. No attachments, no digital footprints, just a ghost passing through. I grab a coffee, stand next to my car, and stare at the horizon for a long minute. That's when a wave of sudden nausea hits me, forcing me to close my eyes and breathe through it. Guilt. Plain and simple. I think about Sarah McAllister, about you, alone in that house with your silent tears. Something in me wants to turn around, rush back, and hold you, comfort you, apologize for everything. But I won't, because I can't separate my love from my wrath anymore. They're fused into one monstrous emotion that consumes me. I get back in the car and press the pedal. Time slides by. Eventually, I reach the outskirts of another small town, where the building I rent an apartment in waits for me. It's a nondescript place, a tall concrete block with chipped paint, perfect for a man who doesn't want to be remembered. I park and trudge up the steps. My keys rattle in the lock. Inside, the air is stale. I toss my jacket on a chair, open a window to let in some fresh breeze. Then I sink into the couch and stare at the ceiling, letting the events of the night unravel in my mind. The entire conversation with you replays in my head. My words, your silence, that slight flinch when I reached for your hand, the letter from our son, and my instructions to him. Over and over, it loops, until I feel sick. I press my palms against my eyes, as if I can block out the images. Finally, I snap. I jump up, grab a glass from the kitchen, and fill it halfway with whiskey. The burn down my throat is immediate. It warms me in a way that only sharp liquor can, an imitation of solace. I wonder if you're still wearing that ring. If so, do you feel the markings on your skin each time you twist it? Do they remind you of the night I found you with him? Maybe you'll tear it off in disgust. Or maybe you can't let go of the symbol of what we had, even though you destroyed it. I laugh bitterly at the irony. A ring meant to unite us, now turned into an emblem of betrayal. Hours pass, or maybe it's days, and I avoid checking my phone or reading any mail. I don't want to see if our son wrote back. Not yet. I'm not ready to face the possibility that he might reject my twisted advice, or worse, that he might embrace it fully. Eventually, I reach a point where I realize I can't hide forever. I shuffle over to my tiny desk, open the laptop I keep offline for journaling. I stare at the blank page. Sarah McAllister. I type, then pause. My hands tremble as I try to figure out what I want to say. Another letter. A confession. I can't find the words. The events of that last meeting are too raw, too tangled. So I shut the laptop and close my eyes, leaning back in the chair until it creaks. I drift into a restless sleep filled with fragments of memory. I see you standing in the kitchen again, not speaking, tears glimmering at the corner of your eyes. I see Andrew, that self-assured grin on his face, turning into a snarl of rage as my manipulations take root in his mind. I see our son, caught between wanting to save you and wanting to punish you. And through it all, I see my own reflection, haggard and haunted, telling me I'm the cause of all this, that it was my fault you strayed, my complacency that drove you away. The dream is suffocating, but I can't wake up. In the dream, I try to say your name, but the words come out broken. When I finally manage to jerk myself awake, sweat soaks my shirt. I rub a hand over my face. My heart's racing. One thing's clear. This guilt I carry isn't going to fade just because I confronted you. The whiskey might numb it temporarily, but it'll come back. It always does. And what's worse, I realize that my final words to our son might have condemned him to a lifetime of bitterness. I told him to be like me, to orchestrate your destruction. Is that what a father does? Or have I just proven I'm no father at all? I stand up, pace back and forth in the apartment. The day is bright outside, but in here it feels like twilight. My only companion is the echo of your silence. I never thought I'd miss your voice so much, even if it was to accuse me or scold me. Anything would have been better than that hollow quiet. Eventually, hunger forces me out. I shuffle down the street to a small diner. The waitress recognizes me with a polite nod. I'm a regular here, though I rarely talk. She pours me black coffee, takes my order, a burger and fries. I barely taste the food. My mind is still replaying our confrontation. I keep seeing your eyes, that silent plea or curse. I'm not sure which. The coffee turns cold, but I sip it anyway, letting the bitterness coat my tongue. My father once told me that a man always faces the consequences of his actions head-on. It's an old-fashioned sentiment, but it's stuck in my head for years. If I were following that advice, I'd have stayed with you, fought for you, or at least confronted Andrew directly. But I didn't. I vanished, then exacted my revenge from a distance. I guess that makes me a coward, no matter how carefully I plan my retribution. When the waitress brings the check, I tip more than usual, as if paying off some minuscule portion of my debt to the world. Then I walk outside, where the sky stretches wide and empty. I feel like a stranger in my own skin. I realize that for all my talk of leaving the past behind, it's still with me, lodged deep in my gut. In the days that follow, I receive another letter from our son. He doesn't mince words. He tells me he's read my instructions and has no intention of carrying them out. He says he loves his mother, even if she made mistakes, and he won't subject her to more emotional torture. He also says I've proven I'm not a real father by suggesting such a thing. He says maybe Andrew is a monster, but that's not an excuse to become one myself. He wants to break the chain, not continue it. I read that letter a dozen times. At first, I'm furious. How dare he judge me? He has no idea how deep my wounds go, how long I lived with the memory of your betrayal. But then, after the anger subsides, I feel something else. Relief. Because if he refuses to walk my path, maybe he'll find a way to heal, to move on without burning everything around him. Maybe he'll be a better man than I ever was. So here I am, Sarah McAllister, alone in this crummy apartment, your ring burned into my memory, your silence echoing in my ears, and our son choosing compassion over revenge. What does that leave for me? Maybe nothing. Or maybe I can still find some glimmer of redemption. The thought flickers briefly in my mind. What if I go back, stand between you and Andrew, and stop the cycle of violence myself? But then I think of your unwavering silence. I think of the marks on your wrist, the hush in your voice, the shape of another man in our bed, and my courage falters. I suppose all that's left is the knowledge that I told you everything. I pulled the final veil off my secret. You can't pretend you don't know who orchestrated Andrew's paranoia, who fueled his insecurity. And you can't pretend you don't understand why I did it. My actions were monstrous, but they were born from a twisted love. The kind that can't let go even after it's been betrayed. Our son's letter sits on the table, the edges already fraying from my constant handling. I wonder if one day, decades from now, you'll tell him about the night you and Andrew first crossed that line. Will you speak of me kindly, or will you paint me as some hateful specter who never truly cared? If I'm being honest, you'd have every right to call me a monster. But then again, you'd be leaving out the part where my love for you was the reason I turned into one. The world keeps turning, no matter how shattered our lives are. I step outside, feeling the sunlight on my face, uncertain of where to go next. Maybe I'll move again, adopt another name, start a new job, keep running from the same old ghosts. But a tiny voice inside me says it's time to stop. Time to accept that I'll never escape the memory of your betrayal or my own cruelty. That voice tells me I should find a way to make amends, not only to you but to our son. Yet I doubt you'd ever accept an apology now. The damage is far too deep, and perhaps I deserve the consequences. I lift my phone, thinking about calling you. The number's burned into my mind, though I haven't dialed it in over a decade. My thumb hovers, but I can't press the button. I picture your silence on the other end, the sound of your breathing, or maybe Andrew's steps in the background. I lower the phone. Back in the apartment, I watch the dust motes swirl in a sunbeam that cuts through the blinds. I feel as if I'm in a waiting room for ghosts, suspended between the life I left and the life I refuse to enter. My vengeance is complete, but it tastes like ashes. My love is still there, lodged in the emptiness of my chest. The guilt that started as a dull ache has become a constant hammering. And that's it, isn't it? I did what I thought I had to do. Then I came to you, told you everything, and walked away. Now the real punishment begins. Living with myself. You, at least, have someone by your side, even if he's the one you once preferred. Our son, for all my dark instructions, has chosen a more merciful path. He'll be all right, I think. He's strong in a way I never was. Maybe that's your influence, maybe it's mine, or maybe it's just who he is. I write another letter to him, this time offering no instructions, just an apology. I tell him he's right to break the chain. He might hate me forever, but at least he won't become me. After sealing the envelope, I set it aside. Whether I actually mail it or not, I'm not sure. But writing it down feels like letting out a breath I've been holding for years. Evening falls. I step onto the small balcony that overlooks an alley. The smell of cooking oil and garbage drifts up, reminding me how mundane life can be after a grand betrayal. It's almost laughable. This alley could be behind any diner in any town. Maybe we're all just people living out our tragedies, side by side, never realizing how deep the wounds run. I shut my eyes. For the first time since I left you standing there in the kitchen, tears threaten to break free. I swallow hard, forcing them back. A man controls his emotions, aggressively if he must. That's the code I've lived by. But sometimes it feels like a cancer in my chest. I open my eyes and lean on the railing, letting the cool breeze brush my face. I think of you again, Sarah McAllister. How you stood with your arms folded tight, nails digging into your own flesh. I remember how you once held me, back when we were young, and I told you about my father leaving us. You said you'd never abandon me, and I believed you. Now, ironically, I was the one who abandoned you. Maybe that's a sign of how twisted our path became. Cars pass below, headlights cutting through the dark. I realize I haven't eaten since that diner meal. My stomach rumbles, but I don't move. Food won't fill the emptiness inside me. Eventually, I go back into the apartment, open a cupboard, and pull out an old photograph I keep tucked away behind cereal boxes. It's the only relic from our old life I allowed myself to keep. In the photo, you're wearing a sundress, grinning at the camera, eyes bright. I'm standing beside you, one arm wrapped around your waist. We look like a couple on the brink of endless possibilities. God, we were so naive. I trace your face with my finger. Then I set the photo on the counter and stare at it for a long time. That's who I fell in love with, a woman who once saw me as her world. Where did we go wrong, Sarah McAllister? Was it me working too many hours? Was it your longing for something I couldn't provide? Or maybe we just weren't meant to last. The question has no real answer, and it torments me anyway. Night deepens outside. I flick on a single lamp. The letter to our son remains on the table, sealed, waiting. I wonder if you and Andrew are locked in some tense argument right now, or if you're silently reading the words I left unsaid in your mind. Maybe you're cursing me. Maybe you're crying. Or maybe you're numb, too exhausted to feel anything. I'll never know. And that's the final sting. Not knowing whether you ever forgave me for leaving, or for sowing the seeds of Andrew's paranoia. Did you guess it was me all along? Sometimes I think you did, but you refused to admit it. Well, now you can't hide from the truth. And I can't hide from it either. It's the truth we share, this ugly bond that ties us together more tightly than any vow. My eyes blur as I sit down again on the couch. The anger is gone, replaced by a hollow grief. I think about calling you, telling you everything I've just told myself, but it would change nothing. Your silence is probably the only answer I'll ever get. Time slips away, the clock ticking relentlessly. For once, I let my guard down. I let a tear fall. Just one, sliding down my cheek, burning like acid. I don't wipe it away. I let it sear me, let it remind me that I'm still alive, still capable of feeling something besides hatred. That's what it means to love someone. Even after everything, you can't fully shut it off. It stays with you, no matter how deep you bury it. Sometimes, that love turns rancid, laced with bitterness, but it's still love at its core. And that is my curse. I'll carry it to my grave, remembering the moment I realized my love for you was stronger than my ability to let you go, stronger than my own pride, strong enough to make me do terrible things. Eventually, dawn comes again. A faint light creeps through the blinds, and I'm still awake, my eyes bloodshot, my mind racing. I know I can't keep living like this, stuck in the aftermath of my own revenge. Yet the path forward is obscured by all the wreckage in my life. I think of our son's letter, how he's chosen not to repeat my mistakes. Maybe that's a spark of hope, something worth holding on to. Maybe I can follow his lead somehow, find a way to atone. Slowly, I stand, open the window, and let the morning air fill the stale room. I glance at your photo one last time before tucking it away. Then I pick up the sealed letter, grab my coat, and head out the door. There's a post office down the street. Maybe I'll mail it. Maybe I won't. But at least I'm walking in that direction, which is more than I could do last night. As I step outside, the sun warms my face. I breathe in deeply, feeling the knot in my chest loosen just a fraction. Life goes on, even for broken men, even for men who have done what I've done. And maybe somewhere in the distance, you're opening your eyes too, stepping out of your own prison of silence and fear. Whatever happens next, we've both made our choices. Our son has made his. And I suppose that's all there is. The only thing left is to keep moving forward. Because despite everything, despite the betrayal, the guilt, the vengeance, the suffering, I still love you, Sarah McAllister. And I probably always will.